So our second video on indices focuses around the ability to use these words simplify and evaluate negative indices. So you'll remember if you looked at the first video in this series on this topic that we came across an answer where we had k to the power of -2. So we're talking about indices where power itself is negative, not where the base is negative, but the power is negative. We have to have a way to deal with that. At National 5 it's not acceptable usually to leave your answer with a negative index. So we're going to go straight away ahead and look at how to do that. So as the top of the page says, you'll often be asked to express or give your answer using a positive power rather than a negative one. And in order to do this, there are two little rules that we use. To say that if we have a letter or a base a to the power of -m, it's exactly the same as that's equivalent to 1 over a to the power of m. So if you had something with a negative power, you would be able to make it positive by putting it on the bottom of a fraction with 1 on the top of it. Similarly, that works in the opposite direction as well. If you have 1 over or something else over a letter or a base to a negative power, you can move it back up to the top, essentially get rid of the fraction and change the sign of the power, basically going backwards and forwards between this 1 over form reverses the sign. So we have here an example question that might come up: x squared divided by x to the power of 4. That would be x to the power of -2, and if we came up with that as an answer, we would say x, or 1 over x squared. Or if your algebra had worked out as giving an answer of 1 over y to the -4, you could rewrite that just as y to the power of 4. And this term that we need to know is that a to the -m and a to the m are called the reciprocal of one another. We may have experienced that phrase when we were doing our work on fractions in previous years. So k to the -2 that we had earlier, that would just be written as 1 over k squared. Job's done. Okay, let's look at just a couple of examples of the types of questions that we might see around this, building in the previous rules that we've used as well. So here we see a possible question that says to simplify z squared all to the power of 4 all over z to the 10, and to give your answer with a positive power. So the first thing we need to do is we need to look at that and remember that that was our rule 3 there. So z to the power of 2 all to the power of 4 over z to the 10. So z to the z squared to the power of 4, if you remember we did 2 times 4 to give us z to the power of 8, divided by z to the power of 10. So if we were to work that out, that would be now onto our rule 2. So z to the 8 divided by z to the 10 would be z to the power of 8, take away 10, which is -2. And we need to then give our answer with a positive power. So we use this form. We can start with 1 over z squared. We've now fully simplified that expression, and we can move on to another one. I want to stop for a little second and just look at the wording of this question. It uses this word here, evaluate, and we'll come across that a lot more in our next video, where almost all of the questions will be of that form, evaluate. But when you see the word evaluate in a question, your answer will be a number. It will be a numerical value. It's not enough to just leave your answer as an algebraic expression. So we're asked to evaluate 9 to the power of 0 plus 2 to the power of negative 2. So we're going to work out what all that is. 9 to the power of 0, we're just going to simplify first, we can't really do anything with that yet. 9 to the 0 plus 2 to the negative 2, remember we can rewrite that as 1 over 2 squared. We can then move on and work out what these individual expressions are. 9 to the power of 0, remember if we go back to our very first rules, anything to the power of 0 is 1. So 9 to the 0 is 1. Plus 1 over 9 squared, actually 2 squared, we know it's 4. So our answer is 1 plus a quarter, or how we would normally write that is 1 and a quarter. Equally acceptable would be 5 over 4. Either version would be just as efficient and just as accepted at National 5.